Please patronize our sponsors who support the Guild and our mission to educate members and non-members to enjoy and enrich their woodworking skills and experiences. You Pick Hardwood Lumber, Beaver Industrial Supply, Rockler Woodworking and Hardware, and the W.D. Quinn Saw Company.
All right. Don't know if anybody's really noticed or not, but the website, the calendar of events is up and running as of Tuesday afternoon of this week. So that's good. Now we can register for classes and do everything again. Remember, Art Fair is August 16th. Keep making stuff. We need stuff to sell. And David, I need David to talk.
I'm David Gronefeld. I am the shop manager, and I also work at the park as well. And on August 16th, there is the art fair that is coming up. And we collect items from the guild members, and then those items are sold during the art fair. Last year, we had a very good turnout at the art fair, and I believe we made over $1,500, I think, at the sales of the art fair. So we did pretty well. So those items you can drop off at the park. I'll put them in the guild shed, or you can bring them in as long as they can fit in my car, and I will take them with me from here and take them to the shop, and I will then label them all. And we'll just tell you should give me a estimated price and what you want for it, and then we'll make that list up, and we'll have those things ready. That's again August 16th, Saturday.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, I'd have to look for sure, but I think it's like 10 to 4 or 9 to 4, one of those two, but I'm thinking it's 10 to 4. But I'll double check that.
All right.
What's that? Yeah, we'll have to get the volunteer sheet going as well. Yeah. And if you want to volunteer, we do need helpers to help run the booth, and I'll put that list out, and you can sign up for it at certain times. I'll put that list together this weekend.
Probably getting tired of hearing this. Starting July 1st, membership dues is going up. 50 for basic and 120 for shop members. And let me tell you, as the membership coordinator also, I've been busy with people renewing. November holiday party. The planning committee has been set. They're going to be meeting later this month as soon as Corey's back from vacation. And we got Superstar Weekend coming up. Where'd he go? Brad. There he is. Microphone.
My apologies if you have a good memory, because I was up here 30 days ago maybe, or close to it, talking about this. We are now 296 days from our next Superstar Weekend. That would be April the 11th of 2026. How many were here last time and heard this? I'm just curious. So a fair amount that didn't. So Roland Johnson is our superstar. He has worked with fine woodworking for many years, I think a couple decades even. He was a member of the wood show that traveled around, and I think several of us heard him there. He has a lot of videos that are out on the internet about different woodworking topics. And he's going to come down, and on that full Saturday day, he's going to start with talking about how do you go to a place and select the right wood for your project. What are the variables? What do you need to be thinking about? Wood movement, et cetera, et cetera. Then he's going to talk about, once the joinery's done, and you've got your piece assembled, how do you finish it so that you're able to, how do you flatten it, and how do you make the surface ready, I should say, for a finish? And he's going to talk about hand planes and scrapers and sandpaper and what all the different variables are. And then he's going to have a long discussion in the afternoon with us about the myriad of finishes that are available and what the pros and cons are. He may even, at the end of all that, talk about some new tools that are out in the marketplace that you might want to know about. So that's what we've got in store. The price is going to be $60. That's just a slight bump up from the last couple years, and we're pretty excited. I hope you all are as well. Anybody got any questions? Obviously, you're going to hear this a few more times probably before. Yes?
I don't remember the last time we were here for this.
Yeah.
Can we bring guests that are not guild members? What would we pay?
I would think so, but Brian, what's your thought on that?
Would you address that, please? Let me address that, please.
Okay.
So, this Superstar Weekend is an educational class for that, just like any other class, similar, I should say, like the other classes that we have. So, the invitation for this class is for the guild members only. But if you have someone that's not a guild member that would like to attend, then all they have to do is become a guild member and attend.
That's a good answer. Thank you. Dan had, for those who don't know Dan had done this for 3 years. I did it 12 years ago for a couple years, meaning set up this Superstar Weekend. We were a smaller guild, and so anyhow, yeah.
Wouldn't we be start taking money for that?
Well, I think we were talking about the fall.
Yeah,
Towards the end of the
towards
year.
the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hold it for you, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in good hands. Too early, you'll forget you did it.
Anybody else before I lose this? No, thank you. I'm Brad
All right, thank you.
Bernhard, by the way, too, for people who don't know me. I didn't introduce.
All right, and Bob Kaskagard, he's got hats and aprons. I didn't forget.
Good,
I
you
didn't
didn't wanna
forget you
talk.
this month. While we're on announcements, we've been going through the. You want to say something, Bill? Okay, you were holding the mic, so. Been going through. Oh, I've been going through the web page on everybody's profile, updating the master database, and there's a lot of people out there that are missing a lot of information. No address, no city, state, zip code. Couple don't have a phone number. Almost everybody's got an email address, which is good. But when we go to try to do certain things and figure out where people are at, there's a lot of data missing. So if you get a chance, go out to the website, go to your profile and stick in your address or your zip code and a phone number, so we know where you're located. Okay, next slide. New members, visitors. I know we got a bunch. So please stand, wait for a microphone to come, and tell us about yourself.
Don Stolberg. I've been doing woodworking for about 40 or so years, just in my spare time, and I haven't had a whole lot of spare time. So, yeah.
All right, welcome.
I'm Rodney Stanley, and I'm relatively close to retirement, but I've been a tape measure and carpenter's pencil kind of guy my whole life, and I want to be more of a fine woodworker. So, and then I'm building a sawmill right now too, so I should have a good supply of lumber. I got a whole bunch of timberland, so I'm going to start making lumber.
All right, well, welcome.
I live down in Oakville, but the property's down in Old Mines, down south of DeSoto.
I'm Rob McFarland. I'm recently retired from Washington University after 35 years. I've had a wood shop in my garage for the last, I guess, 30 years also, but we are downsizing, and the wife wants to go to a condo, and then we have our grandkids in Washington, D.C., so she wants to spend more time back there. But I still wanted to keep my hands wet in woodworking, so that's why I have joined this group, hopefully.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah, this is only my second meeting here. I'm really glad to come. I brought my son. He's a carpenter. I'm hoping to get him to join. And my grandson may be a future guild member.
All right, welcome.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I looked at this group last year, and so I'm here now. But so I'm doing a career change and got into sculpture for Faust Park. So I thought with the shop so close by, that would be convenient. And then looking for mentorship, you know, in the carpentry realm and woodworking. And so this
All right.
is circled back around, back to you guys. So it must be meant to be.
Yep. Welcome. Welcome back. Upcoming events. Would help if I go this way, then I can read better. Shop safety class is coming up on July 3rd, 6:30 to 9:30. We've got fundamentals of woodworking on July 13th and the 27th. Introduction to carving is going to be on August 2nd. And then another safety class, which is the first Thursday night of every month, and from 6:30 to 9, and that's coming up on the 8th. As of right now, that is all the classes that we have that I could find that was up on the calendar.
There's a fundamentals class starting on the 29th.
Oh, on the 29th too? Community outreach. Bob, how many toys did we collect tonight?
We collected 58 toys tonight. We have 75 going out.
All right.
And there's a display of the handiwork here on the table, so if you get a chance before you leave, take a look. And if you're interested in becoming a maker, just let me know.
All right, thank you. And now, Tom. Where'd the microphone go?
I've got wood out in the truck. It's parked right outside the door. Help yourself, selves. And it's good wood. It came out of Webster Groves Presbyterian Church. It's church pew wood, and it's all straight oak, no knots. It's very, very nice wood. It is pre-finished, so you may have to do a little sanding. We are going to pick up a couple more pews on Thursday. Tim Bodeker up in North County stumbled upon a 15-foot and a 12-foot, and I don't know how old they are, probably 100 years old, but they're oak, and I imagine it's going to be really good wood. So we'll try to cut some tops, and we may use some of it to make some kits down the road, maybe a week or two. It's a good program. We're going to need more tables because of the storms up in North City. So if we can get more builders, that'd be great. Anybody have any questions?
Back over here. Could you do that away?
Yes, sir. Oh, okay. Community outreach programs with Home Sweet Home, which is a not-for-profit located in Maplewood, Missouri. They are bring in donations, furniture, kitchen goods, bedding, just about anything and everything to set up a home. They have their warehouse set up like an IKEA. They bring their clients through. They put their client number on the items that they want to take with them. Home Sweet Home runs a pickup and delivery service. So they'll load the clients, everything they've selected onto one of their trucks. Their crew will take it to their home, house, apartment, whatever, and set it all up. It's a heck of a charity. I only know of a couple else, like it in the country. So, we need to get behind them. And we have been. 420 tables in 3 years. And, you know, you guys have really come out and really supported us. So keep it up.
There's also a
Thank you.
channel, I saw a commercial last night or night before last on Channel 9. They're going to run a whole half-hour program on Home Sweet Home.
Yeah, it's a relatively, we got in with them. This is our 4th year. They've only been around about 5 years. So I did reach out to Dan, and he's what I heard a month ago was in the next month or two. So yeah, the other side of the program is everything is either donated, recycled, repurposed. You know, we buy very little new wood. So well, these are fooders, which are large oak barrels. You're talking 30 feet in diameter and 15 feet tall. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. Our next community outreach is Christmas toy program. Wayne's not here tonight, but first and third Friday of each month from 10 to 2, they make toys. If you want to learn how to make toys, this would be a great place to go out there, and Wayne's a good teacher, and they'll give you something to do and get started on this stuff. Yes? One tomorrow. Yep. There we go. People who are in the mentor program, Mary has sent out so far everybody that we have or that I have given her mentors, but we are still needing mentors. We have people that are interested in turning, general woodworking, furniture making, and toy making. So if anybody can want to be a mentor for these people who want to be mentees, we would really appreciate it. Then I thought, I was sitting there, we at the kitchen table talking, I'm going, okay, really, what does a mentor do? So I Googled it. Well, it really doesn't fit a lot of what we do here, but it would help if I flipped. It just mainly provides a guidance, support, and knowledge on what people need. They may just ask questions. They may have a problem. Hey, how do I got these two boards? How do I join them? Just a bunch of simple questions. I know the few that I've had are just really easy questions. Most of mine are on scroll saws, but it's just really it's really easy. Doesn't take much time. So if you want to share some of your skills, please. Email mentorship@slwg.org. Now, next up, questions and answers. I'm going to start. First I'll do this first. I was reading a book, Mineral Spirits. Has a lot of neat things to do with it. But how many people have ever used this to clean sandpaper? Pretty neat, isn't it? I was reading this book about wood and different types of woods, and they got into doing this. About get a spot. Now this is really a poor thing because I eat these things up, but I use a Scotch-Brite mineral spirits. Get the Scotch-Brite damp. Get the sandpaper running, run it across. My orbital sander, I have a piece of this stuff, Scotch-Brite, on a little spinner. I throw this stuff on it, when I'm sanding with it, set it in there, cleans it. Now it really doesn't take all of the really heavy stuff if you get really sanding and really digging in on the paper. It doesn't clean that up. But instead of using that rubber thing that you clean it and it gets all over the place, this stuff is amazing. And it's cheap. You know? Next thing, and I use this a lot, and I brought this up in my scroll saw classes, and nobody ever heard of it before. NAPTA. Who uses NAPTA to clean stuff? This stuff is freaking amazing, isn't it? Not only do you clean, that I use this for cleaning my my drums on my sander, on my planer, but I also use it to take anything that's got glue. I use a lot of two-faced tape, and especially on turning, and you stick it on there, it leaves a residue. A little bit of this stuff here takes it right off. This stuff is, and it's cheap too. I took a class many years ago from Woodcraft on finishing, and the guy who was teaching the class said, don't buy the expensive aerosol stuff. Look at the aerosol can that you're going to buy and look and see what it is. So 3M makes a can of this aerosol stuff. Right now it's like $14.95. But if you look at it, what's the first ingredient in it? NAPTA. That's all it is. And it's like, this whole thing I think cost me $6. And it'll go a lot longer than that spray can would. So that's my questions and answers. Yes? Oh, dry cleaning? Yep. Oh.
Or it's lighter fluid.
Lighter fluid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Zippo guys
Yeah.
use naphtha instead of lighter fluid.
I was what it says it's also a fuel. But man, this thing cleans everything. So it's like, this is pretty neat. So I just thought I'd share on questions and answers. Yes?
Well, since you're talking chemicals, maybe it'd be helpful to know that acetone can take off pencil marks.
Ooh.
And melt plastic.
And melt plastic. One thing I do with acetone, I always have a baby food jar full of acetone, and then I take my tips off of my super glue and throw it in there, and it eats it all up. Pick it up; it's like brand new. Another good one. Yes.
Doing laminate work, you got flush cut bit, you get a lot of glue on the end of it.
Yeah.
You need to soak them overnight. Any number of things, lacquer thinner, stuff like that.
Oh.
When you get done, it'll soften it. Take a soft brush and clean it. Take a soft brush and clean it, but then don't forget to re-lubricate it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you will suck the oil out of the bearing.
Out of the bearing, yeah.
And probably the next time you run it, it'll fry.
Ooh, good idea. Yeah. Anyone else got anything?
I was doing a project the last couple of weeks. My sister wanted a little library made. I'm sure we've all been questioned to do some of those. She brought me some lumber she wanted me to use for the door. It is modular PVC trim board. Have you guys experienced with this or seen this stuff? Okay. Supposedly this is really good for like the outside of your house. It's rot resistant, water resistant. It's got a whole bunch of resistance on the label here. But this stuff messed up my tools like you wouldn't believe. Little chips everywhere, dust, magnetically sticks to things. My bandsaw tires, it just caked up in there.
Ooh.
It's probably good for houses, but it's not meant for woodworking. So I'm just throwing this out as a cautionary tale. It's certainly not the plastic lumber you built decks out of. This stuff probably holds up well, but it's not really good for the shop. So just a cautionary tale.
This stuff here cleans rubber tires on bandsaws really good.
But does the naphtha take the goo off from the adhesive discs on my sander? I can never get that stuff off.
Oh, you never get, yeah. Oh, it'll take any type of glue off. You know, you buy those things that's got the price tags on them that you fight to get that glue off. You just put a little bit on a rag, it's gone.
So we have a lot of new members here. So a lot of you don't know who Rich Weitzman was. He was the last that I know of charter member of the guild. That means he was a member of the guild when it first started. I think he probably holds a record. I don't even know what it is now, but he was president of the guild
11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
more than any of us have been to. So he passed away, I think it was April of a year ago. So it's been more than a year ago now. And it's been a long time trying to figure out what was going on with his estate and so on. But finally, I got a call from somebody who's working with his estate, specifically having an estate sale, because Rich's next door neighbor gave them my name. So anyway, I want to apologize first of all that when I put a general message out to all of the guild members and so on, I must not have done a very good job, but I think it was a little bit confusing because he called me last Saturday, and when I was talking about Saturday and tomorrow and so on, I should have been saying the actual dates and everything. So a lot of people were kind of confused. There were 2 days last weekend that he was willing to have woodworkers come before the actual estate sale and look things over and so on. But the estate sale is this weekend, and that's for sure. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the next 3 days. And during that time, which is kind of surprising, it's only from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock each of those three days. Then 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock, and the address, I think it's kind of silly for me to say it out loud, but I can give you the actual address. It's at Rich's former home, and it's in the Creve Coeur area, but it's actually a St. Louis address, so I'll be happy to give that out to you. And he says that after or starting on Sunday, anything that are left will be half off. That's typical of estate sales and so on, just so you know. Some of you have had trouble finding the estate sale listed, and I can tell you that it actually exists. Specifically, it is under estatesales.net and then under Zia's estate sales. So I know that Bob Danner and Dan Lender have found it and have looked to see kind of what's there ahead of time instead of just going and showing up. So it does exist. You can find it that way. So hopefully anybody who has any interest whatsoever, there are lots of things there potentially, but remember it's only from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock each of those days. And things are on sale as of Sunday for, what did I say, half price?
Half price.
Yeah. Okay, any questions about this? That's, Bob found one of the sites and so on, so.
So there were about 4 of us there yesterday, based on the email that said tomorrow. We forgot on Wednesday, so we showed up yesterday. Yeah, and I was there first, so I explained the situation to him, and he let us in. For one thing, if you go, there are a lot of toys and toy parts. Please don't buy those because I'm going Saturday afternoon to pick them all up for the guild. We're not going to have to pay for those. I'm going to go Saturday afternoon at the end of the sale and pick those up. Otherwise, there's a few things that some of you might be interested in. There's a really nice Cobalt router table and router. It doesn't look like it's ever been used. There's a jet dust collector. There's a jet drill press. Hundreds of carving tools, all razor sharp. They don't look like they've ever been used. They've just all been sharpened.
He sold.
He sold them?
Yeah, he sold them.
Okay, well, they're still there. There's a lot of them. If you're into modeling, there's a lot of both plastic models, and I did see some ship models and some things like that, the kits that are still in the boxes. Some lumber out in the garage, not a lot, but there is quite a bit of veneer. So if you want to pick up some veneer, there's some nice veneer there as well. But it's an interesting an interesting experience to go there. That's all I'll say about that.
Any other questions, sir? Okay, hopefully some of you will be able to take advantage of this.
Got a question over here.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit to your showing naphtha. In marquetry, I end up using a lot of, maybe I should stand, domestic and exotic woods. And exotic woods in particular have a lot of oily residue in them. And so a very nice thing about naphtha too is it dries quite quickly. So I will periodically, as I'm doing marquetry, wipe a little bit of naphtha across the top just to kind of see what the pieces look like when they're brightened up. But when I get ready to finish a piece, I use it to clean that oil off of the exotic woods, in particular woods like ebony that I may have contrasting right next to holly. And it will clean that oil off before I put a finish on it, which is shellac is what I predominantly use. And it cuts down on the running.
On the bleed.
And then the other thing I started doing, because I still even doing that, was getting a little bit of bleeding, is I started floating shellac in a spray can for the first couple coats over the top, and it will set down. But that combined with naphtha took care of a problem that I was having early on. And lastly, when I do the veneer portion of it, I will wipe naphtha over the back. I'm not for sure that I would get a problem with adhesion without doing that, but I thought that probably, as well as roughing up the back side before I put it in the vacuum bag, would help. So I find naphtha to be super useful. And it's
right. We're right here.
I was recently given a desk. It's a flip-top desk that the guy told me he was leaving the country, and so he just gave it to me. And he said it was made in the 1800s, and so I've been disassembling it. It was in kind of bad shape. A lot of the wood was old and brittle, and the frame and panels had cracked a lot. But as I took it apart, I found a maker's mark inside of it. And it was written in beautiful penmanship. And it was dated February 29th, 1870. So it was leap day of leap year. And had 3 signatures in there, but the pencil writing is so faint that I can barely see it. And I wondered if anyone here has ever had any experience with like resurrecting pencil writing like that.
Don't use naphtha. No.
I don't even want to brush it or dust it or anything, you know, but I don't know what to do.
You might try the History Museum.
If any of you guys watch the Repair Shop on YouTube, they restored a signature not too long ago on an episode, but man, I don't know. The penmanship is so beautiful. I could never. I'd have to work with a microscope.
That's amazing that it's lasted that long in pencil.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I have it with me on the car if anybody has any expertise in it, and I could talk about it later. So thank you.
All right. If you have something in show and tell, if you want to come on up and get mic'd up, because show and tell is next. You know, a month or so ago, Tom made a little bitty one and had it at the shop. Well, I made this one a long time ago, and I said, well, it was out in my garage because I'm cleaning up my garage because I was making doors and stuff. But this is my vacuum system that I use for all my small tools. I got part of the idea from the one we got a rack at the shop that's got a spot for all of the tools and stuff. So I built that in there, and I keep all of this stuff together. One other thing that I did and I use is I got a foot switch. so I don't have to reach down here and turn it on and off. So when I'm sitting there working on anything, I just step on it with my foot and it turns it on and off. And it's kind of neat. I just thought I'd bring it and show it. It was something. Other thing that I have is on my floor sweep and sweeping the floor, I got a two-face taped a magnet right here. So when I go across the floor and stuff, I pick up nails and things, and it don't go in there and damage anything else. So, but that was just something that I had some spare wood around, and I just went. I'm tired of lugging this vacuum cleaner and the thing around and moving it around. So I just did this, and it's like, yeah. And the other thing, it's got flat surfaces on it. It picks up everything. If I need a flat spot, I set something on it and I go, where did I put that thing?
A few months ago, a friend of mine passed away, and he asked me to make an urn for his ashes, and he was very specific about the wood he wanted used. He had cut a maple tree down a couple years ago, and it was a lot of spalted wood. So that's what he wanted it made out of. So this is what I came up with. Most of the time, you load the ashes from like this, and then put on the bottom. And as you can see, it was really a beautiful piece of wood. So I'll probably put kind of a clear coat, maybe a natural coat on it, but I think it'll turn out pretty nicely. Thing I learned about this making an urn is you need a cubic inch of space for every pound that the person weighs. Now, this is only going to hold about 1/4 of his ashes. The others are going to Colorado and different places. So kind of a, first time, kind of a weird project, but, he'll appreciate it. So, thank you. Oh, I guess nobody's got any questions.
My name is John Ferreira, and I guess you know me by now. But I've been turning, this is actually oak, and this is what I started out with. This is the same tree. I wait till it gets really punky and rotted, and I use 50% lacquer and 50% lacquer thinner with dyes in it to stabilize and harden the wood before I turn it. But that's one piece I did. I call it the Van Gogh vase. And then these are all red bud, and this is what I start with for red bud. I let it age for a couple of years, and then once it cracks, I fill them in with coffee grounds and CA glue, thin CA glue, and then that's completed. I've got these down to about 1/8 of an inch in thickness, but if you can see, all the cracks on here have been filled in, and they actually will glow in the dark. And this is another piece of red bud that was dyed, first it was dyed green, and then it was dyed blue after turning. And that's it.
So I'm a little bit of a rebel. I'm in my own table over here. I apologize for that. So I have a habit of doing deep dives when I find something new that I want to do. And about 2 years ago, I pulled out some books on marquetry that I'd had for quite a while, read them, and started investigating with marquetry, starting with a scalpel blade, which is commonly done over in England, to cut marquetry in really thin veneer. Wasn't very satisfied with that, and then read about making your own chop saw veneers and doing a hand fret saw technique called double bevel, where the piece is applied to the back of your background, and you draw whatever you want to cut, and you cut that piece on the back at a bevel using this jig right here, and it allows that piece to fit up in the background, which is the show face, and really takes away almost all the gaps. So I started messing around with that technique and was, after a few months, feeling like I was getting some skill. I even volunteered to do a talk, which I gave 1.5 years ago on double bevel marquetry. And since then, I have still pursued doing this and trying to add more artistry. So I brought these pieces in tonight just to kind of show what my personal evolution so far after 2 years of doing this has been. My subject matter from the beginning has been birds, and my intention was to learn marquetry and apply it to furniture discreetly, maybe inside a drawer or on a corner of a tabletop. And instead, I did something that I really didn't even think appealed to me, and that's go down the avenue of pictorial marquetry. And it allowed me to develop also a passion of birding, which I have benefited from Dave Grunfeld's tutorship up at Quiver River Park. And so I find a bird I like, and I obsess about it and do a marquetry picture with that in mind. These are photographs that I find on Pinterest, and I make a tracing of those by hanging tracing paper over my computer, changing the size around a bit, and then I have acquired a huge amount of wood, little pieces that I made my own shop saw veneer. So my other reason for bringing these in tonight was just I thought that talk with the wood people that are here that collect wood and exotic woods might be something that they would have a slight amount of interest in. So I volunteered, when I don't know how long back, talked briefly, I mentioned if there's any interest, I would be glad on a personal level or a class level to show somebody or teach somebody how this is done. In the past, I've done a number of classes that are, you know, often just for people, like turning classes, but there would be some upfront prep in making your jig and probably about $100 worth of saw, you know, some blades, some other things. But if this appeals to you, let me know. I think it's kind of triggered my childish love of art because that's kind of, you know, it's a very quiet thing to do in your shop once you get all your veneer made. So anyhow, the last thing I want to say is I wanted to show what it looks like before it's mounted. This piece, I just finished the tail today, about an hour before I came here. And this is what it looks like when it's completely done, before it's mounted. It's pretty interesting. This is the transparency that I use. Some of this stuff I showed before in the talk that I gave, but again, I don't have these hanging on my wall. I'm not even 100% sure what I'm going to do with them, and so I'm glad if there's any interest, and I thought I would, offer it up for people to, take a look at if you're so inclined. Any questions?
I got one.
Yes.
I'm always curious. I've seen you. I was at your class, not your class, but your demo you had a year and a half.
Yeah.
Do you sand the top of it when you're done, or you just because there's a certain amount of thickness in the wood?
Yeah.
In the wood, you don't sand, or do you?
So the shop saw veneers come off ideally out of my drum sander at 5/64. That brings them down to around a 1/16 as I'm leveling them. So each piece that you put in, you're giving some sanding mixed with the glue, not that fills a line you can see, but just makes that piece set solid. And you know, sometimes 5 minutes later, I'm cutting an edge off of that, applying an adjacent piece. If it's a big piece, then I may move and work on something else and come back, but you're kind of building these out in steps, sanding as you go with each piece. And at the end, I use a scraper, sometimes with a burr on it, to level the top before I go ahead and put it in a veneer bag. So it's, like I said, it's about 1/16 of an inch. They're on 3/8 inch Baltic birch plywood, which is stupid expensive these days. I thought this would be cheap to do. Then, you know, I use Tight Bond Extend. I don't have to use fancy glues since this is thicker type wood. If you were using really thin veneers like commercial, it would be a different issue. But don't get a lot of bleed through. It's about an hour in the bag and I take them out. And then I've been making a veneered beveled frame that goes around the edges. I take about a 3/4 piece of plywood, rip it about 3/4 wide, and then I will run it on a board that I've got made into a little jig, and I'll put a slight bevel on that, running it through my planer on a backer board. And then I will put that piece in my veneer bag and try to make a contrasting frame, and then use hardboard on the outside of it and put all of that together as a more you know, artistic frame than what I was doing when I gave that talk 6 months ago. So I think I've exceeded my time. Sorry.
Good evening, I'm Ron Romiti. I was at U-Pick Lumber a while back, rummaging through their archives, and I ran across this board, and I talked to Craig, and he told me this is a very exotic wood from way southern parts of Africa called mapewall. It's very rare. You very, very seldom see this. So I figured I'd buy this and I'd make something out of it. So as the audience goes completely silent, thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? I actually made this piece of wood out of 2 pieces of wood. 1 piece of maple and 1 piece of walnut, milled perfectly, same size, same width, same thickness, and stuck together with double-sided tape. Then you draw a design and you cut it out with the bandsaw and glue the opposite pieces together. And if you're lucky and you get some nice clean joints, you come up with a very interesting design. And the hardest part is to get a clean cut. I'm not very proficient with the bandsaw. I can make a good straight cut. Curves are difficult. And to cut this, you can't stop. When you stop cutting with a bandsaw, take the tension off the blade, it'll wobble and makes a notch in the piece. So this needs to go, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much non-stop, start to finish, to get a nice clean seam. And the 2 pieces fit together very well. So I made a top, a little drawer inside. This piece basically is the opposite piece from this. I flipped this one over so they don't match exactly, but you end up, out of 2 pieces of wood, you end up making 2 boxes. The trays, everything is made. The only thing that I purchased here was the hinges. Everything else is shop made. The handles, the trays, and that's it. And I would like to, Mr. President, donate these to the art fair.
Ooh, all right, thank you.
That's from Bill's fundamentals class. And the main reason I want to talk about it is I just want to thank the instructors, Bill, Bob. I don't see Phil here tonight because they watched me do mistake, learn from that mistake, do another mistake, learn from that mistake, do another mistake. And hey, welcome to woodworking. That's what Bill told me. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. I'm putting together a sister table right now for our bedroom. And I just want to thank everybody, I want to thank them for their help, and I love doing this.
All right. Usually you have a worker, he's in his shop, working on a project, and he brings it in here and he shows it off and tells you about it. Well, my show and tells, I have two, are slightly different. First one, I was in my shop, working on a project. I had several boards, they're about 5 inches wide, and one surface needed to be cleaned up, finished, slight cup to it. So I took them over to my joiner. Joiner's about 6 inches wide. By the way, I should mention that my shop is in the basement. Some of you guys had a chance to be there. Typical temperature is low 60s to mid 60s. I checked it yesterday, 61 degrees. So I wear this jacket, keep myself warm. I actually have 2 jackets. I'm not sure where I got the second one from, but they were identical. Anyways, I'm working on my joiner and I'm pushing the boards through. Everything's going good. And all of a sudden, the board just stopped. Everything stopped. I was like, what happened? And I'm thinking, oh, my circuit breaker must have popped. Something happened there. But that's not exactly what happened. And I said I was wearing this jacket. I wasn't wearing this jacket. I was wearing the other jacket, which which looks a little different than it used to now. So my show is this, and my tell is on me. This is what stuck. Fortunately, it's belt driven, so it kind of stopped. That happened to my jacket, not to my skin. So that was, So I was trying to figure out what exactly happened. I know this is a little loose, but I've worn them for years down in my shop. But, with 5 inches, 6 inch joiner, I'm thinking the safety cover might have been pushed further open than I'm used to. I do a lot of edge jointing, not surface so much. And I just wasn't cognizant. So, you worked in a shop for years, you think you know everything. Well, I don't think I know everything, but you think you know a lot about your shop. But just be aware that, so I should have taken a step back and I should try to ask myself this, and I'll work on it. Is there anything I should be thinking about this time around, So that was my first show and tell on me. I did a presentation last August on puzzles I made. And in one of my puzzles, or one of my pictures, I had Timmy, my dog. He's about 1.5 years now, and he's a good dog. But boy, does he like to chew. He's got about a dozen toys, and he's made use of all of them. When my wife and I go someplace, he has room of the house, And we got home after a couple hours, and we realized that Timmy had decided to add to his collection of chew toys with my wife's favorite pillow. Let's see, how do I... right there is the pillow. It's been disemboweled, and there's most of them, and there's the rest in the other room. And there's Timmy. There he was interrogated. He said he disavowed knowing anything about it, but he said there was a big black dog he saw running down the street. So. Anyways, this has happened more than once. Different things. And so my wife went to the vet and said, hey, what can we do about that? And the vet said, puppies, a lot of puppies, they go through separation anxiety. Yeah, whatever. And we said, what can we do about it? So we gave him a couple medicines. He gave us a couple medicines. He said, dogs react differently to this, so you're going to have to experiment on one pill or maybe the other, half of each, etc. We said, okay. But in addition to the medicine, we decided, okay, you no longer get free reign in the house. We're going to put you in the basement. Did I mention my shop is in the basement? No, don't get ahead of me here. Yeah.
I knew it was in the basement also, so in addition to putting them in the basement, I put them on a leash, not very long, and it's attached, it was wrapped around the base of my workbench. So it was fairly contained. We went off, and we're gone 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. And so there's Timmy. He says, "Hi, happy to have you home." And you can see there's a bunch of stuff on the ground there. I've got this roll of paper that I pull over the top of my workbench to protect it from paint, oil, and that kind of stuff. Bottom line, I wasn't too worried about this. There's the, like I said, a bunch of paper, and then the white stuff is stuffing from his comforter. There's an old comforter, it's bad. We're okay with that. And so I let him off, sent him upstairs. I said I'll clean up the mess the next day. So that's the background of this story. Now the show. I'm looking, and I'm like, what is that right there? You see the little yellow square there? I was like, is that a snake? Did it come through my sewer drain there? But when we zoom in on it, it's like, what is that? And I'm picking it up, and then I see this right there, and I was like, what is that? That is the end, or the beginning, whatever, of a cord. And I realized that we didn't have the medicine mixture quite right yet, I looked, and there was a power tool that I had plugged in that he had decided to enjoy. And that is the cord that I took off and replaced. And there are 6 chew spots on that cord that he had.
That wasn't plugged in, was it?
So my show is this. My tell is I screwed up, thinking that I had dog safed my shop, but I hadn't quite enough. And to answer your question, it was plugged in to a power strip that was not plugged in.
Oh, good.
So, as you can see, he was still alive when he was, yet again, disavowing how all that paper got on the floor, So, again, tell on me that despite having thought I had done what I needed to, So, when you invite things, people, pets, who are not normally in the shop, dogs, cats, young kids, old kids who aren't familiar with the workshop. Think about what that means and the safety that needs to be associated with that. We've been playing with the medicine. It's gotten better. He's now chilling. Well, this is a camera that we've got that we watch him, and he's not quite so wild. So anyways, those are my 2 stories. All right, thank you guys.
All right, now we got Gary coming up. I can't pronounce that last name. Roux? Okay, Gary coming up, Roux, with the Wood Collectors Society. We saw this about, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago, and man, did I learn a lot, and I'm glad we can have you back. This is really great.
Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. I think this would probably be about the 4th time ever. I think probably 20-something years ago, maybe, I was here. I don't think in this building. You met somewhere else. I'm getting old. I think somewhere in Creve Coeur, was it? But anyway, my name is Gary Roux, R-O-U-X. It's my lovely daughter. She's going to be an assistant tonight. She's only 13, I think, because I know I can't be that old. Yeah. But I've been a member of the International Wood Collector Society for 30 or 31 years, I think. September of 94 or 95. Been the international vice president for 6 years and the international president for 4 years. We're probably the best, and we have 3 members in here. John Ferrer is a member, Jeff Nasser, and we have our current international president, Violet Oman. So good to see you guys. I want to kind of talk a little bit of what you want to know about tonight. What do you want to know? Like some basic identification, like I got 4 simple things you can do to eliminate woods. That's the best way to start identifying wood, is by eliminating wood. Like if you know it's this, you just eliminate it. This. And there's a couple misnomers I want to talk about too. Anybody know what ironwood is? How many ironwoods there are? Most of them, that's baloney. Ironwood is the most useless name for a wood, because the technical definition of an ironwood is the most dense wood of your region. So for us, it could be musclewood, Osage orange. We could call that ironwood, and you're technically correct. But the one ironwood is desert ironwood, and that's what its name really is. And then the next one is hardwood and softwoods. Anybody ever work with southern yellow pine? Is that hard or soft? Soft?
Soft.
Soft. The definition of hardwood and softwood is if it has a leaf, it is a hardwood. If it has a needle, it's a softwood. So balsa wood's a hardwood. Balsa wood's a hardwood. Southern yellow pine, which you can hardly drive a nail in when it's dry, is a softwood. But that's your technical names. Woodworking, I started woodworking probably when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. We lived on a street, we was surrounded by factories and that. We'd sneak down to the end of the street, and there was, I think they did like tempering, because we'd look at them through the fence, and there'd be red hot things, dipping them in oil and watch the flame. And we'd sneak out in their lumber yard over the fence and reach up through the chain link fence and get a board over a 6-foot fence, and we'd make boats or whatever, because we were close to Lake Erie. But that's when I probably started. Then about when I was 10, that's when I started realizing about power tools, because we had electric drill and I could use it if I'd make some. So I started making some wood floats, and carved a little stick and drill a hole in it. So I got to use the drill, and that was pretty cool. So probably since I was 10, I was really starting to do a lot of woodworking. But let me get started here. So the first thing, when you get a piece of wood, let's grab a good one here. We'll start with my favorite. Let's do this one. This one happens to be different, and I guess we could let Brianna hold it to the camera, kind of, and you can see it. Can you see it? Oh, we're not. It's not. Okay. If you look at that's a piece of elm, and if you look, will it zoom in? You see this right here? I call them little Z's. Can you see it? How elm will do this? Them real tight. And if you look at the piece of wood, it's very, very pronounced. And there's another piece. I just acquired this one. You can really see them in here. This is Zelkova. It's native to Japan, but I got it through a botanical garden in Maryland. But you can really see the little Z's. So for North America, our native woods, we only have 2 trees that will have them little Z's. And we can pass this around because it's really pronounced in this elm. You can see them. I mean, it's really unique. But elm and hackberry. So if you're looking at a piece of wood and you see little, because a lot of times people, you ever go to these sites, wood identification, someone will put something, and you have comments that for 300 different woods, and they're so far out in left field, they don't even know what they're talking about. But if you see little Z's in it, and you know it's a native wood, there's only 2, either hackberry or elm. So there's one form of identification. And that's caused by, it shows it on that. Where's that other piece? Oh, if you look on that one you can see them, and the elm too, between some of the rings with the naked eye, you can see wavy parenchyma. And the parenchyma, if this is your ring here, and I don't want to get ahead of myself on you, but the parenchyma normally is not visible, or a lot of times it's real smooth and just kind of part of the ring. But on elm and the hackberry, it's real wavy looking, almost like lace. So if you look at the end grain and you take a loop, and it's good to carry one, you can get them. Like that, and you look at that, a 10-power loop, you can buy them cheap. I think I bought 10 of them for $12 or something online, because I want to do a wood identification class at my shop. But you look at that and you can just see them. So there's the first way, is by the parenchyma. And also that one going around, you can look at the wood and you'll know the groups. Between the rings, you'll either have ring porous or ring diffuse. And that's your pores, and they're like straws, just like a bundle of straws. And they're either the one with that, I don't even have that name memorized yet, Zelkova, you can actually see it. I mean, so identified that it's ring porous. I mean, they're just in a tight band right at the beginning of the early growth. You got early growth and late growth on a tree. Yeah. Just, you can see the rings, how the pores are right in them. You can see the rings. The pores identify the ring easier than the actual ring.
I don't know how to make it bigger. The camera's on.
Oh, I don't think it can. But you pass it around, but you can look at them, and I'll have them up here for a while. Yeah, let them look at it. Then the next one is your rays. And a lot of you guys know what ray flake is because you've seen white oak. That's probably the most pronounced one. But we got a couple others. This one, you see, they market it as leopard wood. It's not leopard wood. This is actually lace wood. It's native to Australia. I stole your pencil. It's native to Australia. And they found out, they brought them over here, and I got dry mouth so bad. But they brought them over here from Australia into South America for overstory trees on coffee plantations. So, because coffee trees are a understory tree, so they planted them, and all of a sudden they're like, wow, this is really cool. This is great, we can market it. And they grew fast. So the first one they brought over was silky oak, and they're in the same genus. And it looks the same way, and they marketed it as lacewood. So now they brought over real lacewood, and they can't call it lacewood because they already used that name. So they called it leopardwood. But there is a leopardwood tree, but it don't look like this. It's pretty much of a plain-looking wood, and the bark has spots on it. Nothing to do with the wood at all. But that's our organization. We get into arguments all the time with commercials. People making up names. How many of you remember, and another one, it's the lace. This one happens to be spalded, but everybody knows what it is, sycamore. And you'll see all kinds of big rays in sycamore. Actually beautiful wood. And that's just a quarter sawn. And that's the same with the white oak, it's quarter sawn, because you're cutting right through them rays. So that's two good examples of your ray flake. Let's see, we went to ring porous, ring diffuse. I don't have a good example of it. Then if you cut a tree and you get the pith, you got another example. This one, I've had it a long time. That's another thing too we need to tell you. It's always good to date your wood. When you get it, write a date on it, especially if you get green wood. 6/14/03, I've had that for. And it's like, well, it looks cool. But you can see the pith, and it's hard to see them because they've been bumped in more. But walnut, the Jugulus family, is chambered pith. So what that means, if you take like the pith of the tree, the very, very center, and say it's an elevator shaft, but it has floors in it, and that's little chambers. So all your walnuts, your butternuts, your English walnuts, they all have chambered pith. So if you're looking at a piece of wood and either it's cut, you can look at the pith, or you can split a piece off. And if you see chambered pith, then you know you at least got a walnut of some type and color. And then the other one is smell. And these I got here. You guys actually made me, first time in 40-something years, I bogged my table saw down. I bogged it down. Cutting 5 1/4 inches in a pass. But these are specimens. This is what our organization promotes. And I got these here for you. I don't know how many people was here. I made about 70 of them. And then there's a bunch of little pieces. I couldn't have the heart to pitch them. But this is a piece of wood that I gave you. It's camphor, cinnamon camphoria. And you smell it, you know what it is, but a lot of people think, what is it? Well, that's what Vicks used to be made from, is camphor wood. And it's the very first chemical that they got from trees that they made synthetically. In 1908, they figured out, instead of getting the sap out of the tree and the oils, to make it artificially. So it saved a lot of the camphor trees. But it's native to Asia, and it's been naturalized now in Florida. And that's what's great about our meetings. If we have a meeting in Florida, we always have a sawmill. And they put logs, they have an auction, or you buy off the mill, and the money goes to support the organization. And then you get wood like this. Anyway, these, we can have Violet. And where's Violet at? I told her I was going to put her to work. But you smell it, and there's little pieces for your grandkid or whatever. And if you're a couple, just take one. So maybe, hopefully, I didn't know how many was going to be here, and it's more than I thought, I guess. Yeah, it's probably, yeah, I'd say yeah. You know, a lot of people ask me, what's my favorite wood? And I do have to say, I think camphor is my favorite. I like a lot of them, but I really like camphor to smell. Right now I go in my shop, it's like, whoa. So, thank goodness I've already cut green stuff into blocks, because I'll get usually timbers about that wide, 4 or 5 inches thick, 4 feet long. And now it's getting hard to even handle them. But I'll get them. Let's see, identification. What's the next one? Where's the oak? I got a little thing here, too. Red oak. Everybody knows what red oak is? You know it's a straw. Yep. You ever see anybody blow bubbles with it or anything like that? The pores are so open, and that's why you can't make whiskey barrels out of red oak. You can make it out of white oak because it has talus that goes across and plugs up the straws. But if you take this piece, I don't know if I can do it. And this is a pretty long piece. Can you see the bubbles? And I got a couple pieces here if you guys want it. You can fight over them, but I made about 3 up. But yeah, so your red oak, the pores are straight through. So if you look at a wood, and you know, because there's books you have for references, but if you see that it's ring pores, and it's open, so, and then you got your rays, because the oaks have visible rays. All wood have rays, but some you cannot see. You know, you got to have a microscope. But we got them there, if anybody wants them. While we're doing that, let me do one other one. And I told somebody about it earlier. This is called logwood.
The wood in your head, to be clear.
Back in the 1500s, when England was coming over and and France. Back then, they didn't have dyes. Their clothes, they had their wool, and basically a wool color, kind of a grayish. Well, they found this in the Caribbean, and they almost cut it to extinction because you take this and the water, hopefully it's hot, but I just ran it through the joiner just to make some shavings. And I'm just going to do a little bit and hopefully it'll go slow for you. Can you guys see it? Can you see it? And this has been, everybody see it? That's what your blue jeans, that's the dye for your blue jeans. They almost cut it to extinction. Now it's all, thank goodness they figured out how to do it. But they'll turn real purple. What kind of wood was that again? Logwood. Log, L-O-G, period, logwood. The Caribbean. The whole perimeter of it. And if somebody wants some shavings, you guys can have it. Because it's a great teaching experience. We talked about that. I have books up here too for you guys. We was talking about ironwoods. Let's get back on that again. This here, you guys all know what this one is. And we got to watch Violet. She has an addiction. This is the Osage orange. Again, look at the rings. All the pores are exactly on the very edge. You cannot see the brays. And then their next clue is color. You got, your color wood. You got your walnuts. Okay. Then you got this by color.
How thick can that get? Osage orange?
I had some logs. They're about that big round. Oh, really? That's the biggest I ever saw. Wow. In Collinsville, Illinois. They cut it down because it was in the front yard. And when I went by, I was watching it for years. I drove by, it's like, there's a truck there, they're going to cut it. And by the time I got back around, they had it sliced up into blocks. Like that, I grabbed my brother, it's all me and him could do to pick up. And I loaded up probably about 10 or 12 of them. I got to have water again. We're getting darker now. I was talking to somebody earlier. This is a piece of bittersweet. I think it came from down in Florida area. You see it's bent at a 90 degree. And you look at it, it's growing that way. You can see it's getting a bark inclusion, but the tree was that way and growing. So I don't know if it was done on purpose or if it was maybe a tree fell, smashed it over, and it started trying to grow again. But that's a piece of bittersweet. And set that here. You can see this one here. We'll talk about him. That's a piece of dogwood. You guys know how hard dogwood is? Ever tried to turn it on end grain, making a goblet? Oh, look at that. That's a beaver. The beaver cut it, chewed it down. And you can see it was about this long, and I cut it up in some sections. But you see where he ate all the cambium layer off, because that's where they get their food. And this must have been on the ground, because there's one little area he didn't get. But chewed that tree, dropped it, and then ate the bark off, or the cambium layer. Pretty awesome. And that's what's neat about our organization. Somebody finds something, they'll bring it to a meeting. You get the opportunity to get it. This is mesquite. I brought them in case somebody likes to barbecue, because I cut some squares off for somebody, and that was just some scrap. And I thought something. I was very careful with the aroma. That's a whole nother story I can tell you. I won a bag at one of our meetings in a gift exchange, and it was a barbecue set, and it had a bag of mesquite chips in it. And I thought, I'm going to try it on the grill. And I threw it on the barbecue grill, soaked it, and it was smoking. I was in the smoke. All of a sudden, the next day I woke up, I was covered in hives. So the person I cut this for, I said, I'm very, very leery to cut it, but I put a mask on, air filtration going, and I did okay. But it's mesquite, and if you guys, somebody wants them, they were just going to get burnt. Somebody wants to sample barbecuing. How many of you guys ever watched Axeman? That's all? Great. Remember Bobby? What was Bobby's name? Bobby, he was the first one. And then they had the Swamp Loggers, which was Greg Chapman. Well, Greg Chapman, we have a member in Florida that said, hey, why don't we get a hold of him? And he'd butter me up, and I, okay, I'll start trying. And we got a hold of him, and up till last year, he would bring us 3 logs or 4 every year, deliver them to our meeting in Florida. And it was sunken cypress. Well, there's only 2 of these that exist in the world, and I made them. This is a cross-section of that tree, and they call it deadhead bog cypress. But this was underwater in the St. Johns River for 150 years. And if I remember right, there's like, I got a table for every 1/4 inch, and I had to count them like with a loop at least 5 times per 1/4 inch to make sure I was right. And some of these rings, where they cross the line and you follow it across, it actually is 5 rings, and where it was here, it goes down to 1. But it's 700 and something years old. So this tree roughly was grown 1,000 years ago. And this was the outside of it. And that's the weathering from the sand in the river, St. Johns River. And you can see how it kind of just ate it away. And this piece here, this end, it's hard to see, but there's 82 rings across here. That little bit, 82 rings. Unbelievable.
Are those rings per year?
Yep, 1 ring per year.
What do you contribute it? Is it the density of the log itself, keeping it from decomposing?
No, it's any wood, the same as the elm that's going around. If you get wood buried and it stays wet, it will last thousands of years. It's just there's no oxygen to cause rot. Like that elm, where's the elm at? It's in, I recovered that on a job site in St. Charles, probably in about 2006 maybe. We was out and I was on a grade check with the soils engineer. And the farmer came out that sowed the ground and was just talking. He said, right in here there used to be a gully. And I filled it in. I buried some logs down in there. Well, as soon as the soils engineers heard that, had to dig it open because if, not properly compacted fill. So pulled it up, and the log was in pristine condition. And it started turning gray. And eventually, like oak, you'll see a lot of bog oak, they call it, and it'll get black. It'll be jet black after about 500 to 1,000 years. And that's the tannins in there. And I've made some experimenting on my own, took ammonia. Because my career, I was a civil engineer and surveyor. And I thought, you know what? We used to have this years ago, had the old diazo machines that had the jug of ammonia. And when it got old and slowed down, I saved them. Jugs. And I thought, I'm going to put some in there, seal them up. And I left some just plain old fresh cut white oak. And I left them in there for 18 months, and they were black. I got them somewhere in my shop. But should have brought a piece of it. But it's jet black, like this. This piece of African blackwood. And I liked it because the outside, you see like the bark, the grain, texture of it. I like my samples big. I'm one of the wildcats in the organization. I don't want the little bitty specimen size. I want big hunks, something you can grab and hold, hit somebody with. This one's a brand new one I got, and I know. How long do I got to talk tonight? How long? 20 minutes yet? Okay. This one it's called cork tree. But it's not the real cork that they get in Portugal for wine stopper. But you can see it's a very heavy bark. But I cut that off with a chainsaw to get some slabs, and this was going to get burned. I'm like, I can't burn that. It's like, that's cool. And I ain't got the heart to figure out what side I want to cut, because I got an 8-inch joiner, and I'd like to get a clean face. But isn't that beautiful? But it's cork tree. That's one of my newer acquirements. Brianna, why don't you turn that off? This one here, somebody wanted me to make a desk thing, and they wanted to put their nameplate on it. And it's a piece of Zeracody. And I made this, and I all of a sudden flipped it. And if anybody saw it up here, there's a circle here where the grain just, I don't know what caused it, but if you follow it through, that dimple is right above it. And it's like, wow. I said, I can't get rid of that one. So it's like, how many of you guys got a piece of wood? You're like, I ain't gonna cut that. I don't know what I want to do with it, but I'm gonna save it. How many of you? Come on, be honest. You're a wood collector and just don't know it. But I thought that was really cool. You can see where a limb was and how the heartwood was starting to draw up. And probably like that vase John had, if it had rays in it, it would look like that wood did. It's just like a friction polish on it. There's no, all this wood is actual colors. Nothing, I don't stain nothing. All actual colors, just lacquer or poly. I've had that probably 20 years at least, or more. This one did, I ran it through the joiner to clean it up. You can see the color it turned. It gets more of a, kind of a dingy, burnt orange kind of color, but very nice wood. This one here, there's two. This is another one of these, remember I was telling you about made up names? This is one Hibden. Remember Hibden Hardwoods? Down on Broadway, he used to let me go through his dumpster. And he'd even call me up and say, Gary, you need to come over tonight. And I'd get all kinds of wood. And he named it Pela as a marketing, and that's what stuck with it. But it's actually Choc de Vega. And it's a cousin, and you can't even tell them apart. You got to have the leaves and the fruit off the tree to tell the difference. But it's the same as Pernambuco. And like your best, world's greatest cello players, if they can't have a bow made out of Pernambuco, they will not play. They say, I want a Pernambuco bow. So that's a piece of that. This one I just brought because of the curl in it. You look at the curl, crepe myrtle. It grows like, Alabama, middle of Alabama across to the Carolinas. I don't know if it'll grow here. It will? Yeah. But, I mean, the curl in there, but very, very hard to dry. Stress in it, bows. But it's like, this is just something really neat. That's a piece of the red oak. How many guys know what wind shake is? You ever cut down a tree and have wind shake and the wood's just burnt? This is a piece of that camphor, my favorite wood. You can see this one. A lot of red in it. You see right there as an example for you. Wind shake, see that split? And see the difference? On the way up the tree, it fractured, even though there's no split. Internally in the tree, it knew it's under stress. And but here's actually a crack, and probably farther down or up in the tree. Probably a hurricane came and caused damage. And I didn't say that about this one. If you look at these rings, some of them are pretty good size. Actually, maybe 16th inch or so, and then all of a sudden they'll be real tight. And I come to the conclusion on my own, I think it can't be water, because it grew in Florida, it's swamps, it's wet all the time. So I think probably a hurricane or something probably went through the area and knocked down trees around it, and it survived, and it had more light, more nutrients, and it didn't have to fight as much. So it was able to grow faster. But that's what you can tell on rings. And that same thing, you heard of, what is it, Oak Island, they're doing dendrology. Is that where they compare? And I don't know how they do it. They can take a piece of wood and say, this is the timeline on it. And I'm like, you got to have a base somehow to know, because the climate changes in regions, and you have this piece of wood, and you got to have somehow to compare the rings, but supposedly they'll match up and they can age. I don't know enough about that. The one on the floor is Texas ebony. Very, very expensive wood. I'm not going to pick it up. Very heavy, very dense. Very expensive wood. You can't see it. I don't know if you can ever, maybe marketplace, never see it on the market. But it's nice. I got a couple real nice slabs of it. This is a Florida wood, Sabaku. You can see how glassy it looks. Just real dense. And a lot of the coastal woods, like all your crepe myrtle, not the crepe myrtle, but it's pretty tough too. But your stoppers, red stopper, and all your coastal trees, they're real dense and tough. That they, nature makes them that they can withstand the hurricanes and survive them. This is one of my favorite woods. Box elder? No. This is a biblical wood. It's in the Bible. It's a Mediterranean wood. But this wood is so, so, so unique that the Spanish, when they started coming over here, planted them in California because the seeds off of this tree is so exact from seed to seed on the tree, and also tree to tree to tree, that the units, they use them for a unit of measure. And they still use that unit today. And I'll do this one at a wood meeting, or like the old woodworking shows we used to have. And I'll do a quiz. And almost all women know the first part of it, and the guys don't. And the women don't know the second part of it. But it's carob, and they know what carob seeds are. And I bet right here, you know what a carob seed is. Yeah, I knew it. And the guys know what a carob seed is? You do? A couple? Yeah. Substitute for chocolate. But what the women don't know about it, and they should, that unit of measure is used today, but they changed the name. Carat. A 1 carat diamond was 1 carob seed. So that's why I got this wood probably 30 years ago, 25. And I'll have it just like this. Yeah. Well, it can't be because you're 12. Well, I guess I got it whenever. Can't tell them myself. This little section here is kind of, I call it woods you know, but you don't know, but you do know. Like everybody knows what a macadamia nut is. There's a piece of macadamia tree. This one's an avocado. It's avocado, beautiful wood. But everybody knows what an avocado is, but never seen the tree. It's a piece of fig. This is a persimmon. I should join it both sides, but persimmon. This is it Brazil nut? Brazil nut. Never see them trees cut down because they're worth so much money. Nutmeg. That's a nice hunk of nutmeg. Pistachio. Couple here the same. Olives. How many of you guys ever work with olive wood? Oh, I love turning it. It feels like velvet, and you sit there and smell it. You can smell it like a green olive smell, kind of like working with sassafras.
Question? Are all these woods good to work with for making projects?
Yeah. I mean, the crepe myrtle is pretty. After it dries, it's stable. You don't want it in an area where you're going to have a lot of moisture and not moisture. But like in your house, it's stable. I make a lot of boxes. My collection, I make goblets, like a 6-inch tall. That's because you get to see all aspects of the wood. You got face grain on the side of the goblet. And when you turn the goblet, you got quarter sawn. Then you look at the bottom, you got end grain. So that's what my wood collection is. Okay, that's all the eating woods I have. These two, this one I brought because of the curl in it. This instrument grade mahogany. This one we recovered out of the Keys. In, I think, 74, they widened Highway 1 across the Keys. And this Dr. Corner acquired it, but somebody cut them all down, saved them, and had them in a barn for that long. But if this is the real Cuban mahogany, Sweetina mahogany. This one is Sweetina macrophylla. And it's the only two true mahoganies. But this one, how much heavier it is. Because the Keys is almost like a desert climate. They only have a rainy season in January and February. Other than that, it's dry, unless they get a hurricane. But so the trees, you look at the rings, they're so tight. And it's just super, super dense. So the density, somebody was asking about density, has something to do with how slow it grows, too. Where you get some woods that grow real fast, but they're still heavy. But as a rule, the slower a tree goes, it'll be more denser. This one, this is a neat piece. You look at here, you actually see lines going here. You think them are the rings, but this is actually quarter sawn. And if you look real close, so the face grain's here. But if you look, and we'll pass this one around, how close them lines are. I mean, they can't be a 64th of an inch. This is your giant sequoia tree. It was recovered in California from a stump. But that's a piece of giant sequoia. But that's your rings going across here, not my saw cut, because it's so soft. I probably cut it too fast. This one I got to watch. Somebody was talking earlier about cocobolo. Who was that? Cocobolo it's not if you're allergic to it, it's when you're going to be allergic to it. Because sooner or later you'll get sensitized to it. And I can't work with it at all anymore. In fact, when I even handle it, I got to wash my hands. But this is a piece of cocobolo. And this is a couple little cocobolo burls. You don't ever see a burl in cocobolo, but that's a couple pieces of...
That cocobolo is the one that smells like roses?
Yes, it's a Del Bur. All your... We'll get back on that groups, Delbergias is rosewoods. And I'm glad I'm thinking of this, because if you work with a new wood, just do a little bit the first time, because you don't know if you're allergic to it or not. See this scar? I have here, this side, I think. I got a scar about the size of, not quite the size of a dime. But I was cutting, told you I got to go dumpster diving, and I used to make pin blanks by the thousands. And I was cutting Zeracody. And you cut on your table saw, the sawdust is black, but you swear you're burning it. It's white smoke comes off the sapwood, and it's not burning, it's just the dust. And that's when I was stupid. I didn't have a mask. And a couple hours later, I'm like, man, my throat's feeling sore. I better get to the hospital, emergency room. Went to the emergency room, and they look at me. What was you doing? Working in my shop, da-da-da. How did you get here? I said, I drove. He said, how do you think you're going to get home? I said, well, I'm planning on driving. She said, you might not be leaving. You're having a severe reaction right now. Your throat is almost swelled shut. And they gave me they said, can you swallow? I said, yeah. And they gave me a handful of steroids and popped them. And after I think I was there 4 hours, they did it. It reacted well for me, and did that. And another one, where's it at? This one here, walnut. I'm allergic to walnut. It put me in the hospital for 4 days. I'm allergic to iodine. And I had to educate my lung doctor on it. I'm in there, and I said, I know what it is. I breathed walnut dust. I was stupid, had a moment of not thinking, and I went outside, and my dust collector from the sanding planer, I was making, I don't know, thin strips, and it was full of walnut sawdust. And I just dumped it into a bag, and I mean the white dust, and I had to blow her, not even thinking. And I'm inhaling all of it. Had a severe lung reaction. So when you expose yourself, especially to tropical woods, they only got one way to survive a tree. And I'll tell a story about that. I'll come back to it. Well, let's do it now, because it's neat. A tree only has one way of defense, is making chemicals. Every chemical we use comes from trees originally. And so we went to a meeting in 2005 in Madison, Wisconsin, at the Forest Products Society Laboratory. Forest Products Laboratory. And there was also Forest Products Society, and we did a collaboration with them and did 2 books, Useful Woods of the World and More Useful Woods of the World. And they're very, very 2 good books for wood identification if you can find them. But our organization, we did all the technical stuff, and then they kind of funded it. But anyway, I was there. I was thinking, how does a tree, because we got to talk to these experts, how does a tree know if it's leaning? How does it know to add wood to this side? How does it know that? They said, we don't know that, but what we do know, we did a study, is a tree communicate to itself chemically or electrically? So they had this viney plant about 30 feet long, and they put real delicate sensors on it, and they'd come and snip a leaf, and the needles would peg. And they're like, wow, it's almost instantaneous. It has to be electrically somehow. And all of a sudden, the secretary walked into the room, and this is the truth. Secretary walked in, and the needles pegged. And they're like, whoa. They had her leave. She come back in, and they did that, and it took them 2 weeks before they realized that tree is sensing the perfume she was wearing. So they're like, okay, it senses chemical. So they said, okay, we're going to go out in the Wisconsin forest, pick a specimen tree. They went 50 yards around it and put sensors on all the other trees. And they come up to that specimen tree, hit it with an axe, and all the needles jumped on the surrounding trees. So they're like, that tree has to be sending a message like, hey, something's attacking me, start making chemicals. So it's like, wow, smarter than we think. Then they also found out that the mother tree, meaning the tree that the seed came from, because some trees are both sexes, some are males, some are females, will feed other trees. Like your understory trees are the first ones out in the spring. And they will give extra carbon to the big trees. Then in the summertime, the big trees will give extra carbon to the understory trees. And then they found, and I don't know how technically how they do it, with radioisotopes. But they found out too, the tree that was the mother tree to its siblings will feed it more than just a neighboring tree that's not related to it. And it's like, wow. And it's like, I keep learning more and more, and the more I learn, it's like, I don't know nothing. But that's two little stories about trees. We was talking earlier about ironwood. This one's called red ironwood. I just got this one. It's Iki. It's an African wood. Came from Dow Chemical. I ran it through the joiner, but you used to be able to see that it had a cant, and it's a stave from a vat. And Dow Chemical used it because this tree is acid resistant. They line their vats with this tree for acids, and the acid does not hurt this wood. So it's like, wow, I got to have this one. Another one. This one is from Brazil, very, very dense. Hubraco is the actual name, but it goes by axe breaker because it is very, very dense. Picked it up at one of our auctions, and it's just like, wow, got to have it, you know, something different. Nobody has a piece of that. This one here, World War II ship. It was a backup, never used. It's ligament vitae, and it was a bearing for a pump shaft. And they actually still use ligament vitae bearings in the nuclear-powered subs because they'll outlast steel like 5 times, and in a submarine, you want quiet. Well, steel shaft running on a wood bearing don't make no noise. So the government has a bunch of ligament vitae saved. But that's ligament vitae. No, oh no. No, there's quite a few of these won't float. This one is lance wood. It comes from Australia. It don't even look like wood. It looks like glass and plastic. It's so hard. In a lot of woods, you can dent it with your nail. There's no, you try to do it on the joiner, you better really hold it tight. It'll chatter. But I only had this piece for, this is the one that taught me in Indiana. They'll have a meeting over there. And it didn't take me long. My first meeting I went to, it was the very first meeting I ever attended. And I'm watching about a wood auction. I'm like, oh. I'm watching how it goes, and $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, sold. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, sold. I'm like, I see this. You go bid $5. Nobody over there don't spend the money. If I said, I'll get this, $5. Nobody bid. I got it. And that's the very first piece of wood I got at an auction. But it's lance wood, and I finally found another piece of it. So I want to, but I'll pass this one around because it's worth, I mean, it's unbelievable. It looks like a cedar tree a little bit, but very, very dense. Rip it up. Okay. Got a couple here. This one and this one. I got another one that's poison right here. Jamaican dogwood. It's also known as Florida fish poison. They take the leaves from this and put it in the water, and it'll stun the fish, and they gather fish. So it's Florida fish poison, also known as, I've forgotten now. My mind just went blank on me. Jamaica dogwood, but very pretty wood. And this is out of the Keys. This is part of that wood that somebody saved in '74 that we recovered. This one, how many people ever watched that program, Naked and Afraid? Anybody ever watched that? It's like, them people are stupid. It's like, go out in the woods in the thorn desert naked. Like, one of the programs, there was a guy and a gal, I guess most of them do that, is who watches a lot? Because I've only seen it a few times. But one of them, the gal said, we can't camp under this tree. He said, oh, and the guy, yeah, we can. He said, no, you can't. It's this tree here. I ain't gonna say the name yet. He said, no, we can't. And she did, and he did. And it rained that night, and woke up, and he had nasty welts on him. And this is oh boy, help me, Chechen, also known as poison wood. But Chechen, the sap, when it's almost like a brown recluse spider bite. You ever see it? It would like rot your skin. I mean, the sap of this tree is very, very toxic. But I can cut it, and I haven't had no bad effects. But again, this is why you need to work a little bit the first day and back off and make sure you're okay with them. Hercules Club, also known as toothache tree. The cambium layer, when it's green, if you have a toothache, you cut that off, and it's like a Novocaine. It will actually numb your mouth and protect you, or eliminate the pain. This one here, this is a good one. East India rosewood. You see there's little grooves on here. Sometimes you'll get it. There'll be a little tenon cut on the end of it. Have you guys ever seen wood with a little tenon cut on it? Yeah? Not too many of you? They do that because they can ship it. It's a furniture part. Oh, really? So they'll put a tenon on it. I got a piece of 4x4, and it has a tenon cut on it. And they said, well, they can ship it out. It's a furniture part. So it's always an angle, isn't it? This one, I was going to bring my log, and I forgot. But this is snake wood. This is probably, there's an argument between it and pink ivory of the rarest woods in the world. And I think snake wood is really the rarest. It only grows on the very, very northern part of South America, and is at the French Guiana Islands up there. There's a few islands. That's the only place. They've tried to get it to grow in botanical gardens, and they can't get it to grow. So it's the only place it'll grow in the world. I got a log of it. It was about that big around and that, split in half. And then I got another one that was shipped to me because they said I was going to be the keeper. But you can see a pattern in it. But it's very expensive if you can even get it anymore, that piece. This one's got some checks in it, but that's probably about a $30 piece of wood. False mastic, this is another one that wood's out of the Keys. Pretty plain looking. But again, remember I was talking about the hurricanes and the density of the trees. You can feel this one is very, very dense. This one's I don't know what kind of wood it is, but I know it's an oak because of the rays. Probably a white oak, but it's a burl. And if you look at it, how many of you guys ever heard of spaghetti-sized oak? Ever hear that term, spaghetti-sized? Nobody? And you'll see that wood sometimes. And if you look here, the grain actually looks like a plate of spaghetti. It's just real tight swirls. They don't really know what causes it, but it's just real tight little circles. and swirls. And I just thought it was cool, and I got to have it. This one is a piece of Fire of Pakistan. And it's just a spalder, but I like it because of the bark. That was pretty neat. And it's pretty much of a plain Jane wood, but I think it spalds very easily. It's a fairly light tree, but Fire of Pakistan. And last but not least is a burl. This is, remember I told you about the scientific names? And where's it at? The regular mahogany, this one, is Sweetina macrophylla. Once you start understanding the botanical names, they make sense. This is Acer macrophylla. And macrophylla means big leaf in Latin. Acer is your maple family. So this is big leaf maple up and out of Washington State. And it's a burl. Somebody passed away, and he was a brain surgeon, and the guy had more wood. You couldn't fit it, this whole thing, stacked the tightest you can, this whole big room. Maybe, what, 2 of them, John? 2 like this? Yeah, it was unreal, unreal. They said the UPS, he'd get online at night, and he just bought it, and he did turning, but he just bought wood constantly. That was his relaxation. But that's all I have. A little bit about the organization. We're the best kept secret in the world. All of our meetings, we have an auction. And sometimes, well, Violet and Eric, they'll come down. Many a meeting they left, they got to run a truck to haul the wood away. And yeah, but many a time, yes.
Question for you. For some of us woodworkers, when we bring like fresh cut stuff home and things like that, sometimes the fresh cut woods have little native residents in them that we need to get rid of.
It's good to get rid of the bark.
Can you go through the process of how, when you collect your pieces, you eliminate your little friends?
Well, we usually, it depends where you're going and knowing the rules. It used to be ash was a very, very protected tree, and they tried to quarantine counties because the guys that sell firewood are the biggest culprit. And the emerald ash borer beetle, which all the ash trees are going to be gone very soon. It's here now and wiping them out. But they think it's going to be a 90-year cycle, and you'll be able to maybe get a harvested tree because the bug moves that away. But they're going to be gone. But try to eliminate the bark. It's the biggest thing. Especially, we got members that come from overseas and going to Canada. They can't have a piece with bark on it at all. But yeah, the bark is the #1 way. If it's real buggy, cut that piece off and leave it where it was. Because there's 1,000 oak canker going around that could wipe out the oaks, and it's affecting the walnuts. So we could lose all of our walnut trees, all the oak trees. And it's just like the Dutch elm disease. They brought it in from overseas. The chestnut blight. That now we've worked with the American Chestnut Society, where one group was with Monsanto and the other group was purist that wanted to do it by splicing genes in the tree, by selective breeding, splicing and grafting trees. And they have, now you can buy chestnuts trees, and it's 31/32 pure. And they got one gene in there from the Chinese chestnut too. And then Monsanto on the other side was trying to do it just as fast as they could because they saw big bucks. Because that's the time they were getting rid of the copper sulfide in your pressure treated wood. And they saw chestnut because chestnut is very weather resistant. And they were seeing money for decks and that to get a rot resistant wood out. There's a couple woods really good, and you'd never think it. Sassafras is very good in the weather. The lady cigar. Catalpa. I got my blackberry arbors, and it's made from catalpa, and very, very rot resistant. And again, of course, your cypress, but it gets very expensive. But yeah, all of our meetings, we if somebody's going to go and we know there's bugs, we try not to. We do our best because we don't want to lose trees. We tried to promote to South America that they can make more money selective cutting trees on their property instead of clearing it, letting beef graze for 2 years, then the ground is just sterile and nothing will grow back because it's so much rain it leaches everything from the soil. For 2 years for beef, for McDonald's, versus selective cutting trees and make more money. But it's a battle, and some of them starting to do that. But yeah, any other questions? None? None at all? I covered everything. But yeah, you can start identifying, very simple steps. Eliminate. You see a bunch of rays in it, you're like, well, very visible. And you'll learn as you deal with more woods, you know what woods you can see the rays in. It's like oak, they're very pronounced. Sycamore, they're very pronounced, especially if you're dealing with local woods. Is it?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I do have some of we have a bi-monthly magazine, World of Wood. In fact, no, that's the Australia. We just had a meeting in Australia. They want a hit guy. I'm going to be the general chairman for Chaco Springs, Alabama in March. And our group, we call our group the Gateway Group, we're going to be hosting that meeting. And it's a 4-day meeting. We'll have a sawmill. We always have wood auctions. And you can get wood. It's unbelievably cheap. I actually didn't go to sawmill days this year in Indiana because it's like to the point I got too much wood in my shop. It's like, I admit I got a serious problem. I got a path to my stove about that wide right now because one of our members is moving and he just brought me 4 loads of wood. I was like, where am I supposed to put it, Gary? His name's Gary. And in fact, we had one of your members, his name was Kirk. Is he in here? He bought a planer, and a grizzly planer. If somebody's looking for a grizzly 6-inch joiner with the helical head, I know a guy got one for sale, $600. It's like new, very well kept, and the helical head with the carbide inserts. Thank you guys. It's an honor and privilege to talk to you.